All right, welcome everybody. Surprise! Um, FDIC 2024 is coming up next week. So Trevor and I were talking. Thought we'd jump online real quick. As you guys may or may not know, if you haven't seen, Trevor's presenting next week, the 360 leadership class. So we wanted to jump on just so first off that we pop back up on your feeds. We're looking at coming back and doing some more of our Thirsty Thursdays and doing some more of that kind of stuff. So one, be on the lookout for that. But then two, if you haven't seen, we wanted to kind of get a little bit of information out there and plug FDIC and plug Trevor's class as well as some of the other excellent classes that are going to be out there. So with that being said, Trevor, how are you, buddy?
Good, my brother. How you been?
Good. Can't complain at all. Tell us, give us the overview. Why should we come to? What is 360 Leadership? Why should we come? And when is it?
Well, let me kind of backtrack a little bit and go to going to FDIC. I've been fortunate enough to actually have either been attending or teaching out at FDIC for, 20 some plus years now. I can't even remember. But the first year that FDIC moved, I believe it was from St. Louis to Indianapolis, was the first year that I attended. And I got lucky enough that in 2012, 2013, somewhere around there, started getting some classes picked up, did the SCBA boot camp out there for several years, like about 6 years running. And then the 360 degree leadership I put in for as a classroom and got picked up for that. And then COVID hit. So they delayed everything for about a year and they reinstated the previous year's classes. So I was like, okay, no big deal. We survived it and we'll get back out there, have a chance to present. And 3 days before the previous year, when I was getting ready to present, I tested positive for COVID. So I was like, I made the very, heavy-hearted phone call to say, I know what the answer is going to be, but I just tested positive for COVID. I feel okay, but I'm sure you don't want my, my rancid self coming out there. And even though after they're taking care of your travel and your lodging and everything else, so that was very disappointing that I wasn't able to go. So I put back in. And typically when I put some of these classes in, depending on the format, and you know how a lot of our classes are formatted, they can be a classroom, they can be or classroom lecture, they can be a 4-hour hot class, they can be a 4-hour workshop, an 8-hour, a 2-day, whatever the case is. So I put this in as a workshop because I'd done it that way before. And this year it got actually a workshop and a classroom, and they picked it up as a 4-hour pre-conference workshop for 2024. So very excited about that. That gives me over double the amount of time to run my mouth because you know how we get when we get going, we get too lazy to stop. So really looking forward to getting back out there. FDIC used to be billed as the world's largest firefighter training conference several years ago. Don't quote me exactly when it was, but they actually went from FDIC to FDIC International, which, I mean, you have a 30,000 plus firefighter population out there for a week, networking, sharing information with each other. And you have people from around the globe that come there as well. So the brotherhood, the networking, the world-class training, it's just phenomenal. So if people haven't had an opportunity to go to FDIC or ever attend, it might be something they want to start pushing their departments to do. I will say this, that Chief David Rhodes, who's the editor-in-chief now in charge of the program, he took over after the unfortunate passing of Chief Bobby Halton. They actually do I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'll have to look it up. But essentially, they do some scholarships each year to go out there where they will present somebody with a golden ticket, so to speak, to come to FDIC. So they do a lot to promote our industry, and they want to try to give access to as many people as possible. So if you never attended, certainly recommend that you put that on your bucket list of things to do. And if you're attending this year on Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock, on the 16th, we'll start out with 360 degree leadership. I don't know the room number yet. It's not been assigned, but there's still time to sign up. A couple little differences this year where they're trying to always improve the program. In years past, they've always had the Eastern Kentucky University students, the interns, out there helping with logistics, and they do a great job. Part of their mission and responsibility is to do the fire safety briefing in the beginning of all the classes and also take care of the evaluations. So this year, in order to save some paper and also be a little bit more efficient with the students and value their time, they'll be doing QR codes up on the screen on the instructor slides as well as in the back of the classroom for evaluations. So you can just snap a picture of the QR code, fill out that evaluation at your leisure, and you're not sitting there in line trying to turn your evaluations in at the end. So a lot of good changes. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So Tuesday morning, April 16th, 0800 hours. Just very briefly, because obviously we want people to come to the class. What is 360 leadership? If I'm coming, why should I go?
Well, and Ben, you've been around the block for a while, and you've been a company level officer. You've been inundated with management theory, leadership styles, all of that. You know that, you understand it, you get it. But the basic premise of 360-degree leadership is that regardless of your role, responsibility, rank, title, your longevity, you have a leadership role and responsibility in the organization. You can certainly lead up, you can lead across, and you can lead down. And a lot of this comes from examples, good and bad, in the fire service of leadership and how you want to develop yourself as a leader. And if you already are a leader, or what I'll call a person in position of authority, big difference between the two. We'll talk about that during the class. But this is kind of get you out of your comfort zone a little bit and get you to look through different lenses of things, because we get very fixed in our view of how things go. And this isn't to make everything sunshine, dandelions, and rainbows and unicorns. It's not about that. It's just that you understand where all these perspectives come from and how you can utilize them, and how you can maybe come to be more mission focused, because you and I can say, hey, we both like ice cream. And Ben says chocolate's the best. Trevor says no, vanilla's the best. And there's going to be someone who says no, strawberry, on down the line. The mission focus is we all like ice cream, right? I mean, I know I'm oversimplifying this, but that's where I take some of the fireground and also administrative and firehouse interactions and be able to put them together. And a lot of it's scenario based and very interactive with the group. It's a 4-hour workshop, but it's not going to be sitting on your butt for 4 hours, because as you and I have talked about a million times, that the mind cannot absorb more than the ass can endure in a seat. So with that, we got to keep people rolling, keep them active, keep them engaged in the conversation. So this is good for someone who's already a chief. I might hurt your feelings and bruise your ego a little bit, but it's okay, because I've had to do a little self-reflection and bruise my own ego in this process. Or you might be that firefighter who says, hey, I might want to go up the track of being an officer, whether you're a career volunteer, and you get to start learning these things. Another side note to this is you have to interface with the people, our customers, the people we serve. And then the people who are elected to serve them, and we also have to answer to, are going to see things all through a little bit different of a prism. So this is just to kind of get people out of their comfort zone a little bit. We're not calling anybody out or embarrassing them, but just make you think a little bit and go, and sometimes that takes a little bit of introspection. Sometimes that takes a little bit of going, wow, man, I really screwed that up. And going forward and making those teachable moments. So, and a lot of this comes from just honestly experience, where I can look back on my own career, which let's see, what's today, the 9th? In a few days, I can't believe I'm saying this, but in a few days I'll have 37 years in the fire service. And there's some things I think I've done exceptionally well, some things I've done okay, and some things I've screwed up 7 ways from Sunday. But it's putting all those things together and being able to look back at that and ask some of the critical questions, have some of the critical conversations. So it's really a professional development opportunity for firefighters, officers, or chiefs, whomever. And I think that people will take something out of this. Again, some people may agree or disagree. That's fine. That's what we're there for, is to throw this information out, do with it what you will. But I believe there's a lot of great worth and value in this, to being able to lead no matter where you are in the cycle, and hold each other accountable as well. Because as well as I do, we've had a lot of edicts come down from the ivory tower sometimes that they look great on paper, but they're just not practical. Or we've had a lot of ideas that might have come up from the trenches where there's a lot of wisdom, but without the knowledge of saying, all right, we have a limited budget. So getting those lines of communication and breaking down that barrier, which the one that I always hated was, oh, you just don't get it. You don't understand. Well, that's your fault. You should be teaching me that. Make me understand. Educate me. It doesn't mean I can't question you. Doesn't, I can't get butt hurt and bruised. Well, why is that, Chief? Well, because I said so. Because I'm the chief. Look right here. Okay, awesome. But there's a difference between being contrary and screwing with somebody and someone legitimately trying to figure out how and where they fit into the universe and the why behind things. So we discover that, we talk about that quite a bit, and ways to really bridge those gaps and certain tools and techniques that you can use in your own department so that they have a voice. And look, as one of my former chiefs told me, he said, this is not a democracy. The best you can hope for is a benevolent dictatorship. And that always kind of stuck with me. I thought it was kind of funny, but we're going to go by policy and procedure rules. Yes, we understand there's a hierarchy. We understand there's a rank structure. We get all that. We're not trying to eliminate any of that in any way, shape, or form. But sometimes there's some really great ideas, and the wisdom sometimes comes from the trenches, and those people might not have a voice. And I'll give you a real quick example as part of the class. You've been in a training scenario, a corporation meeting, whatever the case is, command staff meeting, anything. And you have the people that take a lot of airtime and a lot of bandwidth because they got a lot to say and they want to be heard. Good on them. Sometimes they're just a know-it-all. Sometimes they like to hear themselves talk. Sometimes they have really good points, but we're only getting part of the story and maybe not the whole picture, that we could expand on. And then you have the people who are afraid to speak up for either fear of, ridicule, being demeaned, or actually having to say, man, if I step up, then I'm going to have to do this job if they like my idea. And, they might be inherently lazy, but have a good idea. And so we can identify the people who are, the thinkers and the doers and put all that stuff together. And there's a couple different tools and techniques that we can use that, people can have their voice heard, but we really may not even know it's their voice. Well, I don't want to give away too much right now, but because we'll do these exercises in the class, but there's ways that you can call all the ideas from somebody and you really don't know whose idea is whose, but every one of them's presented and then they're discussed. So so we're not putting the stigma, oh, this is just a probie, be seen and not heard, or, oh my God, this is a chief. We have to hang on every word he has to say, even though he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, that type of thing. So there's a good balance to it. And I get excited about doing it because I've done it in my own department with my command staff, for example. And guess what? Every now and then there's some things that I hear. They're not fun, but they're true and they're accurate, and we got to go forward. And what I do, I call this the ugly baby test. And Ben, by the way, you have two beautiful children, so this does not apply to you. But
thank you.
But I'll just ask you this rhetorical question, and you can certainly answer. But have you ever seen an ugly baby?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever gone up to the mother and told her that she has an ugly baby?
Oh, God, no.
Okay. Well, this is the ugly baby test, because every now and then, guess what? I'm going to have some ugly ass kids in my department. I'm not talking about the people I work with. I'm talking about my policies, my procedures, my thoughts, my processes. Those are my children, okay? Just as much as my other people. They're not children, but they're under my care. Mm-hmm. So if someone comes up and says, hey, Chief, remember that last policy you put out? Well, that looked really good on paper, but it is not practical, and it's causing a lot of harm down on the floor. And I've got to be able to say, okay, tell me more. And at the end of the day, I might agree, I might disagree. I don't know where the answer is going to go. But it's opening the channels to have those conversations that someone can say, and we have the respect for each other. There's a way and manner in which to do it, but they can say, hey, Chief, you got an ugly baby, and we got to talk about making this thing a little bit prettier, or, maybe we put this baby in, maybe not on TV, but in radio, something like that. So those are just a couple premises behind it.
Well, good. I know, obviously if I was heading to FDIC, I'd be in the class one just to hang out and to take all that in. But, there's, as much as we've talked about it before, there's a ton of good information, and seeing the slides, seeing the information, it's great stuff. So again, 360 Leadership, Tuesday, April 16th, 0800 hours, be there. And then, maybe he'll buy you a beer afterwards later that night. That's no guarantee, but it's never completely off the table. So, like I said, we just want to come on, get back on your feed, get back in your social media, say, hey, we're still here. And like I said, to plug Trevor's class one at FDIC next week. So keep a watch out for our social media. Trevor just told me he's going to be doing a podcast next week. for Tip of the Spear Leadership. So when we see that, we're going to plug that. They got some great stuff coming out. So, keep watching. I promise we're not going away. We're just reorganizing, and we're going to come back. We'll be back soon. So thank you guys. Have a great day. And if you're heading to FDIC, safe travels and have a great time. Trevor, good luck, my friend.
All right. Thank you, Brother Ben.